Hey guys, this is Dinosaur Drawer, and today I'm gonna show you guys how to draw the Giganotosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. I'm sure a lot of you guys have waited for this video for quite some time. So basically the trailer from Jurassic World Dominion got released recently, and there are some sources where you can watch the full 5 minutes extended clip from the Jurassic World Dominion trailer, and you can clearly see there what the Giganotosaurus actually looks like. And it really, I mean, like, I think they really did a great job on the Giganotosaurus. So yeah, in this video I will teach you how to draw the Giganotosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. But before we're gonna start this video, make sure to subscribe, because a lot of you guys are not subscribed even though you do watch my videos. So please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please leave a like if you liked the video. So enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, so we're gonna start with step 1, which would be drawing his head. So just draw a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you just simply draw some eyebrows on it. So we are looking at the Giganotosaurus in a certain perspective, so that makes one of the eyebrows look a little bit strange from this angle. Make sure you follow along as how I create the upper jawline, because this is pretty important. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can always just go over it, make it a little darker so that it doesn't stand out as much. So now I'm just finishing up on the on his left eyebrow, and this is the area where his eye will be later on in the drawing. And there's also an indication for one of the holes in his skull, which you wouldn't be able to see. Well, actually, yeah, you wouldn't be able to see it according to a lot of paleontologists. Alright, so now we're drawing the line for his lower jaw, so make sure you follow along to what I'm doing right now. Make sure you get it right. So yeah, you shouldn't be able to see a lot of the holes in the skulls that you see in the Jurassic World or Jurassic Park movies, because they had a lot more skin and bone, skin and muscle over top of them, so it would just look like, well, you couldn't see it. So don't be afraid to add a little bit of detail here and there, because if you add a little bit detail early on, in my opinion, you don't have to add it later on in the drawing anymore. So yeah, just draw in the teeth exactly like how I'm doing it right now. And this is the area where we're gonna put in his eye. Make sure you place his eye at the right position, because it will look a lot better if you do. I'm just refining a couple of lines to make them look a little bit more, a little bit better. So right here I'm already adding a couple of small details. Again, I'm not sure why my camera is suddenly shaking so much. I should fix it, to be honest. Alright, yeah, so I guess we're going into step 2 right now. So step 2 would be to draw his neck and part of his body and map out where everything is going to be. So for example, we want to know where his how high his back is gonna be. We want to know where his chest area is gonna be. We want to know where his rib cage is gonna be. And as you can see, I'm already drawing in one of his legs to have a little bit of reference to what to expect and where I want to have everything. So this is gonna be the other leg. As you can see, I'm just doing some stick figure techniques. Now I'm figuring out in my head where I want to have his arms. So don't go into a lot of detail immediately at this stage, because we're just mapping out where we want to have a lot of important anatomy things in the drawing. So we want to have the legs to be at the right place. We want the arms to be at the right place. We don't want to add detail in areas that we aren't sure about where we put it in. So if you've already drawn something in and you don't really know if it's good or not, and you already add detail at that stage, well, that's when you cannot really go back that easily. So yeah, again, just trying to get everything at the right place, sketching it out. And try to follow along, and if the video is too fast for you, you can just slow it down a little bit so that you can follow it a little bit better. Alright, so I know that the head is at the right place, and that's why I'm starting to add a little bit of wrinkles to his the area where his eye is and around it, to get a little bit more detail. And in my opinion, this way it looks a lot more realistic, and it looks like you put a lot more time into your drawings if you do it this way. So yeah, don't press down too hard on this area, because there are still gonna be some fingers and a couple of, well, there's still gonna be an arm and a couple of fingers in front of this leg. So make sure to don't press down too hard, because otherwise you won't be able to erase it and it will just look silly. Because it will be hard to spot where his limbs are if you draw right through them. So you can see 3 toes on his right foot, and it looks like he is sort of, his toes are a little bit elevated, or her toes. I'm not sure which gender it is, but this is basically the Giganotosaurus that we see at the beginning of the trailer, or well, yeah, at the beginning of the trailer, I guess, because this is the one that kills a T-Rex. So I don't know what gender it is. At this point, I'm getting really scared to say him or her, because I've made a video about how to draw Mothra, and I called her a boy once, and now I'm still getting at least one comment on that video for people saying that it's a girl and not a boy, and people are getting mad about it. So yeah. So yeah, make sure you pay attention, by the way, because I'm drawing it really quickly, to be honest. Normally I would do just a live commentary tutorial, but just because I wanted this drawing to be a good drawing and not just to be a well, how do you say it? Well, for example, when I'm drawing without having to do commentary, I can focus a lot better and I can draw 10 times better. Well, not literally 10 times better, but a lot better as to when I'm drawing for a tutorial, because I'm constantly talking and explaining what I'm doing, and I'm slowing down things so that you can see it better, and it kind of makes the drawing in general be a little bit less quality. So because there are so little reference photos of the Giganotosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion, I didn't feel confident enough to instantly just do a drawing with a commentary, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So we're almost done with step 2, which is to get the rest of his body in. So now we're just drawing his last arm. And what I do is I usually just draw a couple of lines for where I want the talons or the claws to be. For example, is what you can see right now. And then I just connect those to the rest of his hand, I guess. That's basically the way how I draw it. That's how I find it to be the easiest. So yeah, this was step 2, and from now on it's gonna be a lot harder because the video is going to be sped up a little bit. Yeah, alright. Alright, so we aren't gonna speed it up yet because we still have to put in the huge spikes on his neck and on his back. Make sure to try and replicate what I'm doing right here as good as you can. Alright, so that's about it. So before we're gonna speed up the drawing, we're first gonna put in a little bit more detail around his eye. But I have to erase a little bit of it, not too much, just a little bit, so that it's a little bit more clean. Oh, never mind. By the way, I'm I'm actually refining his jawline because it wasn't right. I kind of remember. And now we just have to add a little bit of veins on his neck. And it's just like as if you would follow a rimple. Just like a water rimple or something like that. It's pretty similar in my opinion, except for the fact that it's more stretched out. We are basically this is actually step 3 what we're doing right now, but yeah, it's still in the in the same category as step 2 because I'm not completely done with doing with step 2, I guess. We're just going over, well, yeah, let's say that this is step 3. So step 3 would be to just go over your lines, make them look a lot cleaner, clean it up a little bit, and make the lines a little bit darker and stuff, so that you don't accidentally confuse the sketching lines with the actual lines that you that are meant to be there. So yeah, like you can see right now, I'm just adding a couple of rimples around his eyes or his eye, and this creates a little bit more detail that will make it look a lot more realistic. So you can follow along, you can just draw your own rimples as you like them, because it's not hard, it's just as long as you follow the same sort of direction, I guess. But yeah, we're about to speed up the video, and then we're gonna get into step 4, because step 3 would be to darken all your lines, which I clearly haven't done completely, but you should do it because it will make your drawing look a lot more clean. And especially his jawline, make sure you can clearly see his jawline, because that's what makes it look cool, that you can actually see that his mouth is opened. Alright, let's go to step 4. So the video is speeding up a little bit so that the boring parts are a little bit faster. So now we're gonna darken in the bottom jaw, the area, the inside of his jaw. And also what we want to do is we want to start drawing some the pattern, I guess, because the Giganotosaurus in Jurassic World Dominion has a very distinct pattern on his back. So yeah, you can still see me going over some lines sometimes. But yeah, here I'm slowly starting to add the pattern. So start very light at first, and I suggest that you use a very dark pencil for this one. I'm also, by the way, lining out where the spikes are attached to his back and to his neck. So yeah, if this is going too fast for you, just pause the video and try and draw everything the way I did, or just slow it down. So as you can see, I made the tail look a little bit more like an alligator. It has a couple of spiky, scaly kind of a scaly texture to it, but that's because the Giganotosaurus in Jurassic World Dominion has armor on his back. So he has some armored scales on his back. So now I'm just drawing in the pattern, as you can see. And like I said, start very light and just go darker and darker as you go along. always make sure that if you are going to make it very dark, that you have a darker pencil that will give you the ability to go over it and add more detail. So never go too dark. Just adding a little bit of texture. That's actually basically step 4. Just add texture and the pattern that we want to go with. So it's not hard to follow along, because it's just, I mean, like, it is fast, I do admit it, but it isn't that hard. You can just pause the video and try and go over every step. Still adding the pattern. And as you can see, I'm slowly going over the already drawn in details, but later on I make the pattern so dark that you cannot really see the details very clearly anymore. So that's when I actually go over it with a dark pencil, or just press down a little harder to get my details back, basically. Yeah, there's still going to be a little bit of a pattern on his tail as well. So I didn't get it exactly right. I did get it pretty close in my opinion. So if you want to have it as close as my pattern, just make sure to follow along. So now it is time to add the armored platings on his back. So he has 4 rows, and then he has a couple of scaly, well, actually scaly bumps or something as a 5th row, which isn't actually, well, it is included to the armor, but it's more like a secondary row, like it doesn't really have to be there. Just for the looks, I guess. So now you just draw some scales inside of those rows. Make them look like they are well, like a crocodile scale. So at a certain point I realized that I made the scales way too dark. So I will be going over it with my eraser. I'll just be tapping my eraser on top of it so that it takes off the graphite a little, and that way it gets a little bit more back into the same tone as the rest of the drawing. But you will see that later. I also noticed that a lot of you guys don't really like to look at these particular parts where I detail my drawings. That's totally fine. This is basically just for the people that do want to know how to draw it, do want to know how to put in some more detail, but you don't have to follow along to this part. So yeah, now I'm just drawing in the wrinkles, just like if you would, for example, the way you should think about the ripples in a certain part of his body is simply by thinking of the drawing of being like in the water, and if you would put like one droplet of water in that particular spot where all the ripples would go to, and that's actually where you want to draw them. So now I'm just going I'm just doing the pattern on his head as well, because it's supposed to be there as well. Yeah, like you can see, I'm just tapping with my eraser, which is a great technique if you made it a little bit too dark. So the only basic thing that I keep on doing right now is I just keep going over the patterns and all the detail that's already there to get it into the right tone, and that way it will look better and better, I guess. But I still have to do the tail, and you will see me do the tail in a bit. Yeah, so actually I said at step 3, I think it was step 3, where you should have gone over the whole drawing with a darker pencil, all the lines and stuff, but I'm just going along and doing it whenever I am at the part where, at the area where I'm drawing, if you know what I mean. So yeah, there's also a pattern on his leg, just a little bit. So yeah, and if you, as you can see, one of his hand is in front of his leg, which will make it a lot harder to see if you've accidentally drawn through it with the leg, if you know what I mean. Like, we first drew the leg and later we drew the hand, so that's why you shouldn't press down too hard at the beginning stage. At this point there's not really too much to explain, to be honest. It's just basically going over everything and making it look cleaner, adding a little bit of shadow at some places. For example, at his chest I added a little bit of shadow, but all at the other places of the dinosaur I didn't really put too much shadow, because I already had a very dark pattern going on. So I wanted to have his belly to be a lot lighter in comparison. But I do add a lot of shadow onto his right leg, which is the one that we're drawing on right now. And this is just a rendering of the dinosaur. Like, the first part of the video was basically how to draw the dinosaur, and this is how to put the details and everything on it. But again, you don't have to put in as much detail as I like to do, as I like to put into my dinosaur drawings. But I guess it's good to learn how to put them in. So he also has some veins and ripples on his tail, and you can see some ripples where his tail is actually moving up and down and his leg is actually moving front and back. So yeah. Now this is the part where we're darkening all the patterns on his tail, because his tail was basically the last part that we would draw on. So we have to try and match the we have to try and match the tone of the rest of the drawing. Just a couple of more details on his head, but they will have to go later on because we're gonna go over it with a white gel pen, and we're gonna create some highlights. But we're not done yet because we still have to put some tone into his legs and his feet. Once again, just going over every small detail that we put in and making sure that it's all visible. Make sure that it still stands out even though you just darkened a whole lot of it. So yeah, now it's time to put some shadow on his spikes. So there's only going to be shadow on the left side of the spikes, I guess, and it's not going to be completely shadowed. Just the bottom side of the spikes will be shadowed in, and of course a couple of very light and thin lines that represent some skin on his leg and some wrinkles, of course. Drawing in his knee and a couple of details. So now we're also gonna draw in a couple of details on his toes. So on top of his toes he has, or I would say almost all dinosaurs from Jurassic World or Jurassic Park have them. They have scales, like they are just, well, it's a very distinct scale pattern, and if you aren't drawing it that way yet and you really want to make your drawings look a lot more like Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, make sure to try and put them in. So that's what I'm doing right now. So these scales will really make them look Jurassic Park or Jurassic World like. And just darken a little bit of the underside of the toes, and just do this to both of his feet. Considering the angle of his feet, you have to adjust the angle of which you're drawing the scales, and you will see that shortly. Just adding a little bit of tone to his tail to make it match with the rest of the drawing. Yeah, and so now basically it's time to do the other foot. So as you can see, try and replicate what I'm doing right here. And don't forget to also do it to the hands or his fingers. You don't have to do this, but I like to give it a little bit of a shadow on top of these scales, because it makes it look a lot darker and a lot cooler in my opinion. But you don't have to do this, because if I look at it now and I look at how it looked before I put in the shadow, in my opinion it looks better without the shadow. Of course, you have to put a little bit of shadow on the other foot, or on his other leg completely, because otherwise you won't be able to see his left hand. Just a little bit of shadow on his toes. So now we're really speeding up the video. So now we're just adding some highlights with a white gel pen. You can use a white pencil even. You can use like the ink eraser kind of stuff, or you can just use a eraser itself, because we are doing this on top of pencil. So if you have a kneadable eraser, you can just make a very fine tip and try and put some detail in it. So I'm just going in between the wrinkles and stuff to make him pop out a little. And now I'm also adding some very light highlights on top of the armored platings, because they were too dark, and this way they look a little bit more like there's light reflecting on top of them. If you really want to have it exactly like mine, you can just slow down the video and take a look at every single area where I put down some some highlights, and try and replicate it. To be honest, it's not really that hard. Just make sure that the highlights are at about the same area as my highlights, and I'm pretty sure that it will be okay. So in my opinion, the GIGANOTOSAURUS looks really cool in Jurassic World Dominion, and I really hope that we're gonna see a lot of it when the movie comes out. I just hope that it's not just gonna be the fight with the T-Rex at the start and then we will never see it again. I hope we will see him more. So at this point I'm just adding highlights almost everywhere where I think that some areas are too dark, or I should just add a little bit of white to it. But it's not really that important. You can just go without it. I didn't have to put in the highlights. It's just I'm trying to get used to using this pen, because you can get some really nice results with it, but I'm not yet at that level where I can get really good results. But yeah, like I said, I'm practicing with it, so that's why I really wanted to use it in this situation, because I knew that there were supposed to be highlights, and yeah, I just figured why not try it. Alright, but this was basically the video, because you get the idea of what's happening now. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like, comment below what you think about the video and the drawing in general, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you won't miss a single video. So this was Dinosaur Drawer, and goodbye.